Have you ever noticed how easily people surrender their power without even realizing it? They don't need to be threatened. They don't need to be forced. They simply see an immediate need, an instant craving, a momentary discomfort, and suddenly they're willing to trade everything. Their principles, their boundaries, their very sovereignty, all gone in exchange for a fleeting satisfaction. Now imagine if you understood this mechanism not just in others, but in yourself. If you could see the exact moment when you become manipulatable, predictable, controllable. That's where the point lies. Niccolò Machiavelli, perhaps the most misunderstood philosopher in history, said something that cuts through centuries of human delusion. Men are so simple and so much inclined to obey immediate needs that he who deceives will always find someone ready to be deceived. Think about this. He's not saying people are stupid. He's saying something far more unsettling. We are hardwired to be manipulated. And the lever that controls us, our inability to delay gratification, to sit with discomfort, to question our immediate impulses. When you chase instant relief, instant validation, instant comfort, you become a puppet. And someone else is always willing to pull the strings. You have been taught that manipulation is about grand schemes, elaborate plots, evil masterminds rubbing their hands together in dark rooms. But here's a truth that perhaps no one has told you with this clarity. The most effective manipulation doesn't look like manipulation at all. It looks like offering you exactly what you think you need in the exact moment you feel you need it. And here's what makes this so dangerous. You think you're making choices. You believe you're in control. But Machiavelli understood something that modern psychology is only now confirming. Most human decisions are reactions to discomfort, not conscious choices toward growth. The moment you feel anxiety, you scroll. The moment you feel lonely, you text that person who's wrong for you. The moment you feel bored, you buy something you don't need. The moment you feel questioned, you defend yourself frantically. Do you know why this happens? Because being with discomfort, sitting with an unmet need, tolerating the gap between desire and satisfaction, this is psychological maturity. And most people never develop it. Carl Jung spoke about the shadow, those parts of ourselves we refuse to acknowledge. But there's another shadow here, the shadow of our impulses, the unexamined cravings that run our lives from beneath consciousness. Every time you react automatically to an immediate need, you are predictable. And everything that is predictable can be weaponized. The manipulator doesn't need to know you deeply. They just need to know your patterns, what triggers you, what you can't resist, what makes you drop your guard, and then they simply dangle the bait and wait for you to bite, which you always do. Think about the last time someone manipulated you. Did they threaten you? Probably not. Did they force you? Unlikely. They probably just offered you something you couldn't refuse in a moment when you felt weak. Attention when you felt invisible. Validation when you doubted yourself. Certainty when you felt confused. Comfort when you felt anxious. And like Machiavelli predicted, you were ready to be deceived because your immediate need eclipsed your long-term vision. But here's what most people don't realize. This isn't just about others manipulating you. The cruelest manipulation is the one you perform on yourself. Every time you choose the easy path over the meaningful one. Every time you choose comfort over growth. Every time you choose distraction over presence. You are manipulating yourself. You are deceiving yourself into thinking that satisfying the immediate need will solve the deeper problem. But it never does. It just creates another cycle of craving. Machiavelli observed this in politics, but the principle applies to every area of life. People don't choose what's best. They choose what feels most urgent, and whoever controls the sense of urgency controls the person. This is why advertisers create artificial scarcity, why toxic partners create emotional chaos, why social media platforms engineer infinite scrolling. They're not selling you products or relationships or content. They're exploiting your inability to sit with the discomfort of not having, not knowing, not consuming. And the more you give in, the weaker your psychological immune system becomes. You lose the capacity to delay, to wait, to discern, to choose consciously rather than react compulsively. You become what Freud called pleasure principle-driven, forever running from pain toward pleasure, never realizing that this very running is your prison. But there is another way, and that is what we will talk about now. The question that haunts every person who begins to wake up is this: if manipulation is so easy, if I'm so predictable, if my immediate needs control me so completely, then who am I really? Am I just a collection of impulses and reactions, a biological machine responding to stimuli? Or is there something deeper, something that can observe these patterns and choose differently? Carl Jung would say, you are both. You are the ego, that conscious part that likes to think it's in charge, and you are the shadow, those unconscious drives and needs that actually run the show most of the time. But there's a third element Jung spoke of, the self with a capital S. The integrated, whole, aware presence that emerges when you stop being identified with either the ego's illusions or the shadow's compulsions. Machiavelli understood power dynamics in the external world. Jung understood them in the internal world. And here's where they meet. You cannot have sovereignty in the outer world until you have sovereignty in your inner world. You cannot be unmanipulable by others until you stop manipulating yourself. And you stop manipulating yourself when you develop what Viktor Frankl called the space between stimulus and response. That pause, that breath, that moment of consciousness where you can choose. But let's be honest, most people never develop this space. They live their entire lives on autopilot, bouncing from one immediate need to the next like a pinball. And do you know what happens to people like this? They become targets, not because they're bad or weak, but because they're unconscious. And unconscious people are easy prey for those who have done the inner work to understand human nature. Think about the people in your life who have power over you. Not official power, not authority, but psychological power. The ability to make you react, to make you doubt yourself, to make you abandon your boundaries. How do they do it? They trigger your immediate needs. The need to be liked, the need to be right, the need to avoid conflict, the need to feel special, the need to not be alone. And the moment they trigger that need, you forget everything else. Your values, your goals, your self-respect, all subordinated to the tyranny of the immediate. Machiavelli wrote, "Everyone sees what you appear to be. Few experience what you really are." This isn't just about deceiving others. It's about how you deceive yourself. You appear to be making conscious choices, but really you're just reacting to whichever need is screaming loudest in the moment. You appear to be in control, but really you're being controlled by whatever discomfort you're trying to escape. And here's the cruelest point. The modern world is designed to keep you in this state. Constant stimulation, infinite options, immediate gratification available at every moment. Why? Because manipulatable people are profitable people. Unconscious people are controllable people. People who can't sit with discomfort are people who will pay, compromise, and surrender to make it stop. But there is a liberation available, and it's more radical than you might think. It's not about becoming invulnerable to manipulation. It's about becoming so conscious of your own needs and patterns that you can see the manipulation coming from a mile away. And more importantly, you can see when you're about to manipulate yourself. Jung said, "Until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life and you will call it fate. Your immediate needs, your automatic reactions, your predictable patterns, these are not fate. They're unconsciousness. And unconsciousness is optional, difficult to overcome, yes, requiring serious work, absolutely, but optional nonetheless. So now stop and think. What are your immediate needs? What can't you resist? What makes you drop everything? Is it validation, attention, certainty, comfort, pleasure, approval? Whatever it is, that's your vulnerability. That's where you're manipulatable. Not just by others, but by yourself. And until you face this honestly, you will keep giving your power away without even realizing it. The path to becoming unmanipulable begins with a simple but devastating realization. You have been collaborating with your own manipulation. Every time you've chosen short-term relief over long-term growth. Every time you've silenced your intuition because accepting the truth was uncomfortable. Every time you've stayed in situations you knew were wrong because leaving felt too hard. You weren't forced. You chose it because the immediate need, whether for comfort, for certainty, or for avoiding pain, was stronger than your commitment to yourself. This is the hardest pill to swallow. You can't blame everyone else anymore. Yes, people have manipulated you. Yes, systems have exploited you. Yes, you've been conditioned since childhood. All of that is true. But you're also an adult now, capable of consciousness, capable of choice. And the question is, will you keep choosing the easy manipulation or start choosing the hard freedom? Machiavelli, for all his reputation as a cynic, actually believed in virtue, excellence of character forged through discipline and wisdom. He wasn't advocating for manipulation. He was warning you about it. He was saying, look, this is how the game works. People are simple. People obey immediate needs. So either you become conscious of this in yourself, or you remain a pawn forever. The transformation requires building what I call discomfort tolerance. This is your psychological immune system. Just like your body can handle viruses better when it's strong, your psyche can handle manipulation attempts better when it's trained to sit with unmet needs. Not forever, not in harmful ways, but long enough to ask, is this really what I want, or just what I want right now? Start small. When you feel the urge to check your phone, wait 60 seconds. When you want to defend yourself in an argument, pause before responding. When you crave validation, notice the craving without immediately trying to satisfy it. When you feel lonely, sit with the loneliness for 10 minutes before reaching out. This isn't about becoming cold or disconnected. It's about reclaiming the space between impulse and action. That space is where your power lives. Carl Jung understood this as the transcendent function, the ability to hold tension between opposites without collapsing into one side. You want connection, but you also need autonomy. You want pleasure, but you also need growth. You want certainty, but you also need to embrace mystery. The immature psyche can't hold this tension. It collapses into whichever need is most immediate. The mature psyche can hold both and choose consciously. But here's what nobody tells you. When you start doing this work, people will get uncomfortable. The ones who have been manipulating you, even unconsciously, will suddenly find that their usual tactics don't work anymore. You don't react the way you used to. You don't cave the way you used to. You don't need them the way you used to. And this threatens them because your unconsciousness was serving their needs. You'll hear things like, "You've changed. You're not fun anymore. Why are you being so difficult? You're overthinking everything." These aren't observations. They're accusations. They're attempts to pull you back into unconsciousness because your consciousness is inconvenient for those who benefited from your sleep. And this is where most people fail. They can't handle the social cost of consciousness. They cave. They go back to being predictable, reactive, manipulatable, because the immediate need for acceptance, for peace, for not being seen as difficult, overwhelms their commitment to sovereignty. But if you can push through this, something remarkable happens. The manipulators give up and move on to easier targets, and the real people, the ones capable of genuine connection, start to appear. Because conscious people attract conscious people. Sovereignty attracts sovereignty. You can't have a real relationship with someone who needs you to be unconscious. Friedrich Nietzsche, another philosopher vilified for telling uncomfortable truths, said, "One must still have chaos in oneself to give birth to a dancing star." The chaos is this transition period, the death of your old, predictable, people-pleasing self. The discomfort of not knowing who you are without your immediate reactions and needs running the show. But from this chaos, something new emerges. Not a perfect, unfeeling robot, but a sovereign individual who can choose their responses rather than being controlled by their reactions. This is what Jung called individuation, becoming who you actually are, not who you've been conditioned to be, not who others need you to be, not who your immediate needs tell you to be, but who emerges when you can finally sit with yourself, with all your discomfort, all your needs, all your shadows, and choose consciously. Machiavelli knew that most people never take this journey. They remain simple, obedient to immediate needs, forever manipulatable. But you're reading this, which means part of you is ready for something different. Part of you is tired of being controlled. Part of you wants to know what it feels like to be truly free, even if that freedom comes with discomfort, loneliness, and being misunderstood. The question is, are you willing to sit with that discomfort long enough for the transformation to take hold? Or will you, like most people, get uncomfortable and go back to sleep? Only you can answer that. But I'll tell you this. The only thing harder than becoming conscious is living your whole life unconscious and realizing, too late, that you gave your power away every single day. If you're ready to go deeper into these ideas and want practical tools for developing psychological sovereignty, check out my book, Beyond the Shadow. It breaks down Jung's most important concepts and gives you concrete practices for recognizing manipulation patterns, both external and internal. Link is in the pinned comment below. But let me tell you something else Machiavelli understood that most people miss entirely. He wrote, "It is better to be feared than loved, if you cannot be both." Now, before you misunderstand, he's not advocating cruelty. He's pointing to a profound truth about respect. When you need to be loved, when you need approval, when you need others to validate your existence, you give them the keys to your kingdom. You make yourself manipulatable because your well-being depends on their opinion of you. But when you are willing to be misunderstood, when you are willing to be disliked for holding your boundaries, when you are willing to lose connection rather than lose yourself, you become formidable. Not through aggression, but through self-possession. People sense this. They can feel when someone's sense of self isn't up for negotiation, and that creates a different kind of respect, one that isn't based on pleasing or performing, but on being undeniably, unapologetically real. This is what Arthur Schopenhauer meant when he said, "A man can be himself only so long as he is alone, and if he does not love solitude, he will not love freedom. For it is only when he is alone that he is really free." The immediate need for constant connection, for continuous validation, for never-ending social proof. This need is a chain. And most people wear it so long they forget it's even there. They think the weight is just part of being human. But it's not. It's part of being unconscious. The path we're talking about requires periods of deliberate solitude, not isolation born from fear or rejection, but chosen aloneness where you can hear yourself think without the world's noise telling you who to be. In these moments, you'll face your most uncomfortable truths. You'll see exactly how much of your behavior is driven by the need to avoid being alone with yourself. You'll recognize how many relationships you've maintained not out of genuine connection, but out of fear of the void. And this confrontation, this honest reckoning with your own patterns, is where real power begins. Because once you can be alone with yourself, without immediately reaching for distraction, validation, or comfort, you become almost impossible to manipulate. The lever that others use to control you, your fear of discomfort, your fear of missing out, your fear of not being enough, that lever no longer works. You've built something stronger, a relationship with yourself that doesn't require external maintenance. This is the transformation path that few complete. Most people get to the edge of this realization and turn back. They catch a glimpse of their own patterns, feel the discomfort of recognition, and immediately seek relief. They call a friend, they start a new relationship, they throw themselves into work, they scroll endlessly, anything to avoid sitting with the truth that they've been running from themselves their entire lives. But those who push through, those who can tolerate the temporary loneliness of self-discovery, they emerge with something the world can't touch. An internal fortress, not built from walls that keep others out, but from foundations so solid that manipulation can't find purchase. You know yourself too well. You've sat with your needs long enough to distinguish between what you truly require and what your conditioning tells you to chase. When you finally stop obeying every immediate need, when you develop the capacity to pause, to reflect, to choose consciously, something extraordinary happens. You become unpredictable in the best possible way, not chaotic, not unreliable, but free. Truly free. The people who could once manipulate you with a text message, a slight, a moment of silence, they lose their power. Because you're no longer reactive, you're no longer driven by the need to respond, to fix, to please, to prove yourself. You've learned something that most people never learn, that your peace is more valuable than any temporary satisfaction. This is the rebirth Machiavelli spoke of when he talked about the new prince, the one who creates their own power rather than inheriting it. You are the new prince of your own life, not because you've conquered others, but because you've conquered yourself. You've faced your immediate needs, your shadows, your unconscious patterns, and you've said, "I see you, but you don't control me anymore." Carl Jung described this as meeting the self, that integrated wholeness that emerges when ego and shadow can finally coexist consciously. You're not denying your needs, you're not pretending to be above desire. You're simply no longer enslaved by the tyranny of the immediate. You can feel an impulse without acting on it. You can experience discomfort without immediately trying to escape it. You can be alone without feeling lonely. You can be criticized without feeling destroyed. And this changes everything. Your relationships transform because you're no longer entering them from neediness. Your work transforms because you're no longer seeking validation from every task. Your presence transforms because you're no longer trying to be anything other than what you are. This isn't arrogance, it's sovereignty. The quiet confidence of someone who knows themselves well enough that external manipulation can't find a foothold. People will still try. The world hasn't changed. Human nature hasn't changed. Machiavelli's observation is as true today as it was 500 years ago. People are simple. People obey immediate needs, but you're no longer people in that unconscious sense. You've woken up, you've done the work, you've earned your freedom. And yes, it comes with a price. You will be alone more than you used to be. You will be misunderstood. You will be called cold, distant, difficult. But these are small prices to pay for something priceless. Yourself, your energy, your peace, your sovereignty, no longer traded away for temporary relief from discomfort. This is the promise. A life where you are no longer manipulatable because you are no longer running from yourself. Where you can see clearly, choose consciously, and act with integrity. Where your immediate needs no longer dictate your long-term direction. Where you are finally, truly, completely yours. Today, we learned from Niccolo Machiavelli that human simplicity makes us vulnerable to manipulation, and from Carl Jung that consciousness is our only protection against this vulnerability. We discovered that the path to sovereignty runs through discomfort, through facing our immediate needs without being controlled by them. So, if these insights sparked a moment of clarity for you, hit the like button to share this wisdom with others who might need to hear it. Subscribe to join our community where we dive deeper into life-changing ideas every week, exploring the profound truths that transform how we see ourselves and the world. Remember, every moment you choose consciousness over reaction, you reclaim a piece of your power. Every time you sit with discomfort instead of immediately relieving it, you strengthen your sovereignty. This isn't easy work, but it's the only work that matters. Now tell me in the comments, what immediate need controls you most? What pattern are you ready to break? Let's see how many here are ready to choose freedom over comfort. Until we meet again, carry Machiavelli's warning and Jung's wisdom forward. Let them remind you that awareness is the price of freedom, and that price is always worth paying. See you in the next video, where we explore even deeper into the psychology of power and presence. May you find our talks not only educational, but also inspirational, and hopefully, ultimately, transformational. See you next time.